Hello everyone, welcome back to another Friday and another casual champion review. I'm not excited. I don't want to play Kaisa, man. I hate this character. I'm also playing top lane because I wanted to play mid lane and then it got stolen from me. So I guess I'm here now. So we're playing Kaisa top into Talon, just a normal average top lane experience. And I have not been looking forward to this one at all because, you know, there's some champions in the game that like, oh wait, that's better. There's some champions in the game that I don't like. There's some that I do. And then there's Kaisa. You know what I do like though? Fan art section. I do find it funny. A lot of the fan art sections have been drawing me as the champion, and I don't think there's a single one of them that did that this time, which I am kind of grateful for, because Kaisa's horrible and I hate her. Most of them just seem to be me being disappointed with Kaisa, and that's pretty lore accurate to me in real life. So yes, absolutely wonderful, fellas. All the people who do fan art section, absolutely fantastic, wonderful. Thank you so much. You're amazing. I have not been looking forward to this one at all because I really don't like Kaisa. I mean, I already don't like playing AD carries very much, but this one in particular has I hold a bit of a grudge against this character, primarily because I think, on the whole, there are some champions that have pretty terrible designs, you know, like Shaco or Cho'gath, or any of these older champions. But a character this new, to have a design that goes so contrary to what they're supposed to be as a character, there's nothing in the game quite like Kaisa in that regard. So getting into her lore, she has a relatively short bio actually. She is Kassadin's daughter, for all the 3 people who didn't know that. She lives in Shurima, a certain part of Shurima where there were people, strangers, wandering through the lands offering sacrifices to dark powers below, and now we know these are cultists of Malzahar. But Kaisa didn't really like that too much. She thought it would be funny if she just like released all the sacrifices. So there was a big goat pen of a bunch of sacrificial goats, and she used her knife that she was given to her when she was 8 years old and cut them loose. And the Void just found out, I guess, that their sacrifices got let go because the Void just erupted right then and there, swallowed her and the entire rest of her village into the Void Rift. She regained her consciousness a little while later, deep in the underground, not in the Void, but in like a Void Rift. It's like a deep chasm of tunnels that are connected to the Void, but not actually in it. There's still Void monsters down there though, and she could hear the faint cries of the other survivors down there, and she went searching for them. But upon the 3rd day, and I repeat, 3rd day, this is a 10-year-old child who has been down in the Void for, god damn it, this is a 10-year-old child stuck in a Void Rift filled with a ton of monsters and a power that corrupts and turns you into a Void monster. She was down there for 3 days. And she was fine, apparently. That she's the last survivor of these people that got thrown out of the Void Rift, and she would eventually come into contact with a small skittering creature, a little Voidborn, and it attacked her. But she stabbed it in the heart, didn't kill it, but as she tumbled down, it started to fuse to her, and she couldn't kill it. She tried stabbing it again, knife broke, what are you gonna do? But now you have this armor plating thing on your arm. You can use that to deflect the other bigger monsters, I guess, unless they, you know, they probably could have just eaten you whole, but whatever. And so years pass, over a decade, in fact, and the symbiotic life form has fused to her entirely, but it's like a second skin to her. She can't remove it. And she spends the entirety of her life just trying to survive. She figured that if she can't act as prey down in the Void, she has to become the predator. And so now she's a vicious killing machine, killing all the Void down there and sustaining her own suit by killing these other Voidborn. But she's not trapped down in the Void Rift. She can't escape, and she's surfaced multiple times, except the people of Shurima hate her and fear her because she is nothing but a monster to them, even though she has regularly shown her face behind the helmet, and they can very clearly see she's just a normal human woman. And that's kind of where her story ends. She's had a couple run-ins with some other Shuriman folks, and Talia, if you saw the call, and there was a bit of short story before that as well. But mostly she just exists to try and fight back the Void. Oh wait, there was bel'veth. Yeah, she got corrupted by bel'veth, I think, and then Riot never went back on that. They had the special splash art and then forgot, I guess. But the main key thing here is that the people of Runeterra think she is a monster, which I'm going to use the same thing that I use with Cassiopeia, the Cassiopeia redesign. With her, it's like, why the hell would Noxians be scared of a half snake lady? They have monsters and half animal people everywhere. Who cares? I think I've made a mistake. Like, I get it. If it was in our world, sure, see this purple skinned or purple suit magic thing walking around, you'd probably be a little weirded out. But like Kaisa in Runeterra and Shurima, no less. Like, you could probably tell the shape of a Voidborn from the shape of a human, or all the other crazy half-animal people running around, or people riding giant crocodiles and stuff. Like, she is by no stretch of the imagination anywhere near the most abnormal thing in Shurima itself, never mind the entirety of Runeterra. It doesn't help as well that, like, why doesn't she look more monstrous? She really should. Like, the whole excuse is that, well, the suit has regenerative properties, so that's why she's never scarred or burned or malformed or, like, okay. But isn't Kassadin's whole thing that he's being corrupted by the Void and he's using, like, magical artifacts or something? Like, it's like, wearing a Void monster makes you immune to the Void corruption? Like, okay, fine, sure. But then, how come she wasn't corrupted in the 3 days she was down there without it? In her own comic, there's a traveler, his mount, I think it's like a goat creature, and a bird, and they fall into a void rift. The bird gets corrupted as they are falling into the void rift. The mount gets corrupted within minutes, and the traveler is corrupted minutes afterwards. It's very clear that void corruption works quite quickly unless you have magical artifacts like Kassadin does to slow it down. And I'm not saying Kassadin's design is good. Rip off Darth Vader. But you know what I mean. And then on that comic, my God, the absolute crown jewel of Kaisa with the very last panel with a nice close-up of her pretty face with no blemishes or markings at all, an ass shot, and she goes, oh, maybe someday they'll accept me for the monster they think I've become, or something like that. Like, I'm a monster, someday they'll accept me. Like, what? Like, this is the perfect example of the opposite of, I feel like I'm riding my own high horse with Cassiopeia, but it's fan service with no purpose. Like, no visible blemishes or disfigurements, perfectly clean hair, face, makeup, all the just massive cleavage gap and a nice butt. Like, what? How is this a monster? In what world would anyone look at Kaisa and be like, oh my God, she's terrifying. Oh no, what a horrible abomination. I don't die here, right? I don't die here. Oh! And somehow the Q went off anyway. She has the body of a supermodel despite living her whole life as a survivor. Her whole lore is trying to survive off the land and fight back Voidborn all day, every day. Shouldn't she at least have, like, some muscle? Or does void corruption get rid of that too? And the suit doesn't feel symbiotic at all. Like, there's no remnant of how she talks or how even the suit acts that implies it's alive, that it's a symbiotic pair, you know? And a good example I would think would be like Venom and Eddie Brock. You know, Eddie looks real fucked up a lot of the time, and Venom talks to him and belittles him and changes his decisions all the time. With this, it's just like, I guess the suit is slightly alive on top of her. You don't get the sense the suit is any kind of character at all. I'll get you, Toland. I ran out of walls, I guess. It doesn't look like it's actually a part of her. It just looks like she's wearing a skin-tight suit. And that's evident especially across her skins. Because usually with skins, they try to take a champion's distinguishing feature and make it work across all the skins. Like, for example, with old Aurelion, I guess, is a good example. And a lot of people don't really like the old version, even current version, I should say, of Mecha Aurelion Soul. But a big thought process behind that skin was making him a giant airship, so all his stars are instead replaced with little mini airships orbiting the big airship. That's cool. You took the champion's distinguishing feature and made it work. With Kaisa, that doesn't matter. These stupid pauldrons aren't even attached to her half the time. They're just random floaty bits they have to include because it's part of Kaisa's silhouette. And the symbiosis part, is there any skin that makes use of that at all? I think Battle Angel is more like a robot suit, or like trying to make her even more like Samus than she clearly was inspired by already. But all her most popular skins like Star Guardian, Katie, it doesn't matter. She just has a couple random floating pauldrons. Who cares? The thing is, it would have been a really cool opportunity to show because they'd already fumbled the bag twice with Malzahar and Kassadin, who are supposed to be void corrupted humans. But Kassadin's the Darth Vader knockoff we all know and acknowledge, and Malzahar just like, he has a little eye thing on him. Neither of them are actually fused to a Voidborn. The idea of having a human, its physiology, combined with that of a Void monster sounds awesome. What changed? I swear to God, with Kaisa's evolution, it doesn't look like it changed at all. With Kha'zix, it's so obvious. It's like, oh yeah, he evolved Q or W. Like, I can't tell with Kaisa. What changed? I would have loved it, and I was excited for it because we knew that a Void monster, or a Void champion at least, was on the way. A character that is actually fused with a symbiotic life form from the Void, and that she's struggling with her own ways to try and take back humanity. It would make sense why people would see her as a monster, because sometimes she wouldn't be able to control her monstrous instincts because the Voidborn is trying to take over. That would be awesome. Even in LOR, they tried that a bit, where her arms are literally splitting open. It looks like the suit is actually a part of her now, that it's disfigured her physiology, which is like, that's what it should be if it's a symbiotic pairing. But no, it's just a skin suit on a hot anime babe. And now we get into conspiracy theory time. So, you know, this moment, oh, I've always had this sneaking suspicion that Kaisa was the beginning of the dark ages of League, because Kaisa was released during season 8. Up until this point, we'd had, you know, Ornn and Camille, Zyra Khan, Ivern, Kindred, Clad, Tom Kench, Gangplank, like all these very wildly varied different characters in body type and species. That was like season 5 to 7 was like the golden year for me. Every single champion was just so unique and varied in every single avenue, while still having some fan servicey characters, you know, like Evelyn. But then Kaisa happened. So it'd been like 3 years since the last Voidborn, and we were used to getting a new Voidborn every year or so. So for the first Voidborn in that amount of time come out, and it was Kaisa. It's like they took upon the challenge of, can we take this region that is known for being housed of only monsters? Like, this is the monster region of all the disgusting, horrible abominations and eldritch beings we can put into the game. Can we make a waifu out of that region? And then that's how Kaisa came to be. And Kaisa was a massive success. And then we see in the years on where we see Silas and Kale and Yone and Viego, like characters who take visual appeal in that avenue to trump their actual character development. Like, making a character sexy isn't the problem with Kaisa. It's the fact they tried to make her anime waifu bait when that is not at all what her character is supposed to be. It's the opposite of that. And I think Kaisa's success kind of spiraled League's development for a while, and like, oh, well, if we just make every character hot, no matter what the context, then we'll sell money. And it worked for a while. And that makes me sad. Like, Kaisa is brimming with potential to have been so cool. Like, if you're gonna make a fan service character, fine. Just for a character like this, this was not the right time and place for that. And they didn't really expand on any of the interesting parts about her too. Like, how come she doesn't interact with Caston? Oh, I know why. Because he would recognize her immediately, because she doesn't look monstrous at all. If anything, she wouldn't recognize him because he's a Darth Vader now. Like, it would have been really awesome to have a story of Kaisa being horribly disfigured by the Void and Caston being horribly disfigured by the Void, both in different ways. And them basically being unable to recognize each other and thinking each other are the enemy. Like, that's some cool storytelling you could have done, but they don't want to do that because then that would interfere with Kaisa's pretty face. God, I despise. I really don't like Kaisa, in case you couldn't tell. It hurts because the potential is there, and because you guys know that I love the Void so much, in spite of its flaws. Like, you know, cho'gath is goofy and stupid, and Vel'Koz little Squid Games, man. But I still love the Void because the idea of having the Eldritch Horror region is just so fun and brimming with potential, as is Kaisa. And then they started to do, like, again, with the bel'veth thing, they had this new artwork of her, and then they just never went back on that at all. No way. Original joke. And again, her skins don't make any attempt to try and work in that whole symbiotic nature, even work in the pauldrons in a unique way. They're often just floating there for no reason at all, like I said with KDA or Stargarden. The only ones that it really seems to make sense for is Bullet Angel, her first skin, because there it's like a Samus Aran power suit. It's clear as well they were trying to make a new Samus. One listened to her theme like, wow, that doesn't sound like Metroid at all. Then they try and make her personality this like brooding, like, no one understands me. I'm the monster they can never accept. I don't know if I should even help these people because they don't even like me. I should just let the Void I'd understand your point of view if everyone, like, had a reason to hate you, but you look like a normal-ass woman going around just helping people. Like, why would people hate you? It doesn't make any sense. It's so contrived. I'm getting very emotional right now. I should not get emotional over fictional video game characters. That is a lesson to everyone on Twitter. I've had very bad experiences with Kaisa fans who will defend this character to the ends of the earth. And look, if you like Kaisa, good on you, man. That's awesome. You know, if you can see past all this schlock that I despise and you like the character anyway, that's awesome. That doesn't affect me. I just wish that she could have been a lot better than what I think they put out here. I do think Bullet Angel is definitely her best skin, though. And then there's, of course, her gameplay, which is a reason a lot of other people hate her for a very different reason. And for me, you know, it could be anything from how she has invisibility, shield. Oh, you know, gameplay-wise, you could get upset at Kaisa for any number of things. Like, why does an AD carry have invisibility, shield, long-range skill shots, attack speed buffs, auto-based bursts, stacking autos? Like, anything you could possibly want in a kit, Kaisa has it. It's like Vayne on steroids. But the thing that gets me the most with Kaisa, what the hell do you even build on this champion? Because it seems like every other week, Kaisa's build changes radically. Like, right now I'm going Man Immune or Merman, whatever it is, and Nashor's Tooth, and I don't even know what I'm going to build next. Oh! And the main issue I have with that is that build diversity, I am a big fan of build diversity in League of Legends. I think a lot of champions should have multiple routes, and the same champion has to build the exact same thing over and over and over again. That gets very stale very quickly. The difference of Kaisa's build diversity compared to someone like, I'll use an example as like kog'maw or Sion. So for Sion, you can build Sion full tank or you can go full lethality. Oh, with kog'maw, you can go full AP or you can go ADC. The difference in building those two ways radically alters how you play the champion. You are not going to play AP kog'maw the same way you're going to play AD. You're not going to play lethality Sion the same way you're going to play tank Sion. The difference with Kaisa is that it doesn't matter what you build. The build diversity is just what's most optimal at any given time. Oh my goodness. He wants me. He's like a void monster. Oh. Like, what do I guess I go this, right? For attack speed or something? I don't know. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It's going to work anyway. It's the Katarina rule of thought. Is this like AP on hit Kaisa, full AD, lethality, full AP? It doesn't matter. No matter what build you go on Kaisa, it doesn't change how she plays. It's just like, well, this month Kaisa builds full AP to do the most damage. Well, this month she builds AD. And you know what? It doesn't matter because she does mixed damage no matter what you build. No matter what you're doing on Kaisa, you're going to get the same results. It's just, what's the flavor of the week build this time? And to me, that is not build diversity at all. That is just a champion who is weirdly too flexible, a champion who has too many options, like Katarina, who can build full tank and plays exactly the same as normal Katarina because she just does the same thing no matter what. And that whole mixed damage, well, you can't itemize against her. Like max health, true damage, AP, hybrid AD, lethality, burst, one shot, DP. Oh, there are some ADCs that I don't really like when they're meta, like Ezreal or Caitlyn, even though I've come around to Caitlyn a bit because of the lethality build I find quite funny. But Kaisa, like, what ADC should be allowed to do that? None. She has too much. Too many things. It's like they tried to force her to be the most popular, strongest character in the game because the moment they buff her, she is the strongest character in the game. And in LOR too, she got released in LOR instantaneously. Not even like 1 day in, people immediately found out that she was top tier, best character in the entire game. Kaisa decks rule the world. Don't do it, Lee Sin. She's one of Riot's favorites, that's for sure. If you've ever seen the Riot merch store, last year Kaisa received more merchandise than I think most champions in League have received in their entire lifetime. There's the $800 statue, multiple figures, pins, t-shirts, posters, any merchandise you can name. Kaisa has it in plentiful. And again, it's because it worked. They made a void waifu and it worked fantastically. I just wish they had gone a different route and it hadn't potentially been the catalyst to alter the next few years we would see of League. Again, there's no confirmation for that at all. It just, to me, that seems like if I were Riot and I made an incredibly popular champion, immediately became one of our most successful and popular champions in the game, I'd probably try to see what made that character so popular and replicate it over and over again. But I feel like I've been rambling for, wow, I guess it has been pretty much half an hour. I guess final closing thoughts, because I don't know how much longer this game's going to go on for. Yeah, I don't like Kaisa. It wasn't obvious enough. There are plenty of fan servicey characters in the game that are good. You know, Evelyn, Samira, Braum. Like, there's plenty. It's not a bad thing to have fan servicey characters in your game. It's a bad thing when that fan service trumps who the character is supposed to be. It doesn't just trump it. It's just there for no reason at all, and in fact hurts the believability of the character. I cannot for even 1 second believe this is some deranged person who's lost all hope and everything and doesn't know what to keep going and fights like she's a wild animal. No, I get none of that here. Absolutely none of that based on how she looks and how her story goes and how the people around her act. I think, as we know, that's never going to change again. Riot struck gold, so they're never going to want to change her beyond that. I would just hope that the next time we get a void monster, which is whoever knows how many long, however long, I guess, that it's treated with proper respect for the region it's actually come from. Or if you want to do a survivor type character, do it, you know, I forgot that my character's bullshit. So much potential could have been had here. There have been a plethora of absolutely awesome fan redesigns that have encapsulated the idea of this is a brutalized person basically becoming the animals that she fights. That's a fun idea. Just none of that is encapsulated in her actual design or visuals at all. So, in my opinion, there are a lot of champions that I dislike for specific reasons. I don't like Yone's gameplay. I hate him. Or I think Corki's lore, he has none. Or however many champions don't have good designs. But I think when you put it all together, just not believable lore, really bad design, horribly designed gameplay that is just not fair and goes against the philosophies of how League of Legends characters should even operate. As a package, I think Kaisa is the worst champion in the entirety of League of Legends. Thank God. I think the game's finally ending. I hope. I don't have a lot of HP. I just want to get out, man. 35 minutes of Kaisa. That's all I can take right now. Wait, I can get this. Yeah. Okay, thank God. Next week we have to play Kalista, who I love everything about except the gameplay, so that's going to be torture. All right, thank you for watching this Casual Champion review, fellas. I'll see you next time, okay?